Alright, 5 days late, let's go ahead and grind out the video on those guys over there. The Seattle Seahawks. Again, 5 days late. Sue me. It was really weird trying to even figure out how I was going to talk about this game and this team right now. But I'm going to go ahead and give it my best shot. Seahawks win 46-18, achieving scoregami, hosting the Colts, and I really didn't want to get on here and bitch about a game where you win by 4 touchdowns. I really didn't, because that's when you really think about it, that's kind of foolish. It's like, what do you expect if you're going to get on here and complain about your team winning a game by 4 touchdowns and saying it wasn't good enough? Then you're basically saying that you need everything to be perfect, or else you're going to find something to bitch about, and that's not a good kind of fan to be. That's not a healthy way to watch football. So I'll put it to you like this. At halftime of this game, I remember sitting there being depressed. And I remember sitting there just thinking, I cannot remember the last time I felt this annoyed with having to watch this team. I can't remember being this just down on the guys. I've been watching this team regularly since 1996. I've missed very few games. I I think I missed one game in 2011 because I slept in, and it was the stupid Browns game that we lost 6-3. So whatever. I probably missed a few games when I was little, but maybe it's just the expectations, because you know how much talent these guys have, and you know what they're capable of doing, and you saw them win a Super Bowl 4 years ago. But I don't know, guys. At halftime, it was 15-10. The offense had just donated a Colts touchdown to by throwing a stupid interception and giving up a one-on-one jump ball touchdown. We drove down the field, kicked a short field goal, and missed it. And Blair Walsh clearly had lost all confidence in his ability to kick in that direction, to the point where it seemed predestined that he was going to miss that kick. And I was just like, this team isn't even fun to watch. We're winning games, we're making plays, we're doing some really good stuff. We've still got great players on offense and defense, and I can see all the good stuff, but it is not fun to watch these guys right now. And seeing it happen against a terrible Colts team at home on primetime football, it was just taking the life out of me, and I was going back and forth between getting angry and just finding it impossible to give a shit. So that experience I had at halftime, I can't say it just completely went away because of what happened in that second half, where we outscored Indianapolis something like 36-3. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Okay, that first half, Russell Wilson plays like he just took a big shot of NyQuil right before opening kickoff. Offensive line, inconsistent. A lot of people just missing blocks, missing assignments. We give up a safety. Defense lets off one big drive where the officials might have gotten involved a little more than I would have appreciated, but we gave up some stuff on that drive. Wilson throws a bad pick with a few minutes left in the half. Blair Walsh shanks a reasonably easy field goal. We're not getting pass rush on a Colts offensive line that is down to their third string center, even though we had most of our guys throughout that first half. And it was a factory of sadness for a little bit there, guys. There was not anything to be happy about. But I would rather have a team that finishes strong than starts strong and peters out as the game goes on. So Wilson came alive in that second half, and other than maybe one or two throws, which were not even that bad, he was almost perfect in that second half. He ended up with 5 incomplete passes on the whole game. 2 of them were picks. One of them bounced off Jimmy Graham's hands. That guy, his catch percentage needs to go up immediately. He is going down toward Jermaine Kearse territory with his catch percentage this year. And last year he was at 71%. This year I think he's at 51%. That's not good enough. But Again, Wilson caught fire. He was running the ball, throwing the ball. He made that sick throw to Tyler Lockett down the field late in the game. Just making huge plays, playing the way that he played in the second half of the 2015 season, where he looked like the best player in football for a little bit there. The running game got on track. We got some action from Eddie Lacy, his easily best game of the year so far. He was productive. Carson looked okay, and then we had tragedy strike there, and I'll get to that at the end of the video because there was a lot of tragedy to go around. J.D. McKissick comes in at the end of the game, puts it away with a couple of big plays, and now we're looking at him to be a big part of what we do in this season's future. So it was good to see him warm up nicely in a game that was pretty much already over. So that was a positive sight to see. Doug Baldwin fighting through a groin injury and making a couple nice plays out there. He wasn't a huge part of the offense, but he was productive. Paul Richardson made some nice plays. Luke Wilson catching the touchdown. Jimmy Graham redeeming himself with some nice catches after that first drop that led to the pick. And by the end of this game, you're like, okay, we got life on offense. We have legitimate, untarnished life on offense. The quarterback's playing well. The offensive line really came alive. And there's reason to be optimistic again. And the defense. We gave up one big drive the whole game. Other than that, Indy scored a couple field goals. They scored off a turnover, which I'm not sweating that. Which we forced 2 turnovers in this game that both resulted in defensive touchdowns. So we're making plays and we're turning them into immediate points. Huge shout out to Justin Coleman and Marcus Smith. These were guys that we were barely even thinking of going into this season, and now those guys, we might be leaning on those guys a lot. So thank God that they're showing like they've got a pulse, because we're going to need that pulse in these next few games, I'll tell you that. Especially Marcus Smith. And if Marcus Smith ends up being something for this team, then my hats go off to the coaching staff, because that guy, Philadelphia gave up on him very quickly. They saw something with him that they really didn't like. Wagner, obviously, monstrous game. Bobby Wagner, PFF rates him as the best defender in football this year so far. He had the half a sack. He had 3 quarterback hits. He scored a touchdown on the fumble. Frank Clark with some monstrous plays out there. Michael Bennett, Nazir Jones, these guys just constantly getting involved. And look, when I go into a game like the game we played on last Sunday night, I expect the defensive line to wreak havoc on every single play. And it's not fair, but I know how good these guys are, so I'm just conditioned to expect it. I watched this game, and I came away with the impression that the defensive line was getting their ass beat. And then you step back at the end, and you're like, okay, we had 3 sacks. We had a whole bunch of tackles for loss. We got a bunch of pressure on Jacoby Brissett. And realistically, I think my expectations just need to be tempered a little bit. So defense, solid stuff. It was nice redemption after getting your ass kicked against Tennessee the previous week. So plenty of stuff there to be pretty happy about. So the team coming around, I'm going to come out of this game feeling pretty good about the way the team played. It's very easy to fall into the trap of what is wrong with these guys, but I'm not going to do that. So it's not the play of the team that has me down after this one. It is the condition of the roster after it's over. Because, guys, this week might suck. This week could easily just be a brutal display of, a team that has one arm tied behind their back. This week in Los Angeles could be no fun. Let's run it down. Cliff Averill gets kicked in the chin, gets a spinal injury. He might play next week. He might play. He might never play again. We don't know yet. It's too early to be sure. So that really sucks, because our defensive line is the very seat of our power, And while we have the guys who can replace him well enough, they're not as good as Cliff Averill. They're not. And that is a big blow. And I really hope he gets back soon. But at the same time, it's like, when I heard about the details of his injury, I was like, that sounds like something that could affect your life when like decades from now. So whatever he has to do, he's got to do it. So that blows. For him, for the team, for everybody. That's not fun. We had a couple other defensive line injuries in this game, but they came back. Like, I think Frank Clark missed a play but came back. Jerron Reed missed a couple plays and came back. Jeremy Lane got hurt. He's out this week. I'm not a huge Jeremy Lane fan. I really like what Shaquille Griffin is doing, but Jeremy Lane is still a quality cornerback in this league, and I would rather have him out there than, honestly, even Justin Coleman. I'll say that even though Justin Coleman just made a big play for us this week. Obviously, Chris Carson breaks his leg, probably not going to play again this year, which that was a real tragedy because the game was over. I mean, that game was a done deal. He was out there running the clock out, and he gets his leg bent funny. It's really shit luck. Really shit luck. And now we're looking at this team, backfield. We've got Thomas Rawls, who gets hurt a lot. We got C.J. Prosise, who gets hurt a lot. We got Eddie Lacy. We don't know what we got from him yet. We don't know if he's the guy he was back in 2013 or if he's the guy from last year or the year before. We don't know yet. And then we got J.D. McKissick, who I love the guy. He's still, I think, a rookie. He's got very little NFL experience, and I'm very optimistic about what he can bring to this squad, but it's still a little bit of an unknown. Reese Odiombo, bruised sternum, might play this week. Then again, I don't know if I even want him to play this week because he's playing so awful in almost all these games, but I have to believe that he's at least better than the people behind him, or he would be behind those people. So there's just a lot going on with this team right now in terms of injuries, and this next week might blow. I mean, that's not even counting, by the way, the fact that Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas are not practicing this week. I'm sure they're going to play, but something is going on with those guys to where they're not practicing, and that tells me that they're just barely managing to hold back on whatever injury that they have. So, yeah, it's not a great situation right now. We're going into, well, I'm going to talk about the Rams game in another video, but good win, a lot of things to be happy about, but this team could be the walking wounded for a couple weeks while we fight to try to get some of these guys back. So, right now, we're not front runners. We are fighters. We have to fight through these next couple weeks while we wait for some of these guys to get back or wait for new guys to integrate themselves into the offense enough to be major contributors. So that's the story of the season so far. We're 2-2. Best game of the season easily. I'm happy, but it's a tragedy what happened with some of these guys on Sunday night. It really is. And I hope they get better. I hope they can come back and contribute to the team this season. But some of it just plain doesn't look good right now. All right. See you guys later.